dear students. So I'll be starting with today's session, and today we shall have a discussion in connection with introduction to CNC. Brief information about this we have already discussed in the previous session, and after that we are also going to discuss about features of CNC and what is the need of CNC in manufacturing, in what way the CNC machines are beneficial in production, in manufacturing, or in any process where the automation plays a very important role in industries. And then we are also going to discuss in detail about machine control unit for CNC, because machine control unit is considered to be the brain and heart of a CNC machine, and what are its components and a brief function of each component being used in CNC machines. And the last concept which we are discussing is about the CNC software. So what are the softwares which are used to make the automation system to run smoothly in case of CNC machines? So before I begin with the today's session, just I wanted to again bring awareness to you about what we have discussed in the previous session. So as we are discussing the second chapter, that is course outcome 2. So in that, in the last class we have discussed about the NC applications, means in what way the numerical control machines can be used, like machining applications, non-machining applications, etc. and what are the advantages and disadvantages of NC system. And in brief we have also discussed about the introduction to CNC. Okay, so now today we shall have a discussion in connection with introduction to CNC in detail about the concepts related to CNC only. That means whatever the NC part means, whatever the contents which we are supposed to learn in connection with the NC machines, we have already discussed in the previous sessions. So now we are concentrating on CNC machines. So as you are going to see on the screen here very clearly, so the actual introduction of NC has taken place in 1952, and there is a drastic advancement in digital computer technology which lead to the development of CNC, that is computer numerical control. So we need to understand here, as there is a huge advancement in the field of electronics. Even this point I also used to tell when I'm going to handle the mechatronics course. Okay, that is the application of microcontrollers, the microprocessors and the PLCs, which are considered to be the basic programming features to see that the machines are made to run in an automatic manner, okay, using the programming instructions whatever is there. So similarly in the field of advancement in the industries, okay, the CNC machines have been widely used in the present days. So today NC means computer numerical control. So that means if at all I say NC means almost the NC has become outdated now. In place of NC we are going to use the computer numerical control. So let us define what is exactly the technically we shall define the meaning of CNC. The CNC is defined as an NC system. This is very important. It is also called as sometimes as an NC system, okay, whose MCU is based on a dedicated microcomputer rather than on a hard-wired controller. Because in case of an NC system we are also going to use their machine control unit, which is having your tape reader, okay, and you are having other devices, okay, which can be used for the purpose of conversion and other things, where the controlling action we have discussed about that. So now similarly that same machine control unit is going to be considered by controlling the actions with the help of certain software. So that is why we are going to say here we are going to use the MCU. MCU means machine control unit, so which is considered to be the brain and heart of the CNC machine. The present day computer controllers for CNC have high speed processors. So that is what we are discussing now, because as we know that MCU is considered to be the brain of a CNC machine, or a very main component. Okay, so these controllers are designed in such a way that they are able to process the machining very fast. Solid state flash memory, improved servos and bus architectures. That means, so whenever the data flow is required between different memory devices, so which we have discussed even in mechatronics subject, while explaining about the microcontrollers, microprocessors, where we are going to use different different bus systems like data bus, control bus, system bus, etc. Okay, we have discussed at length while discussing about these concepts. So using that technology, it is possible to see that the CNC machines are made to run automatically. Controllers are also designed for controlling multiple machines. So even we have got the controllers in such a way that it is possible to control multiple machines at a time. So this also we have discussed in the very last chapter in the communication systems, where there is a mainframe computer which is used to control the different computers dedicated to carry out certain operations in a centralized plant like that. Okay, where the data communication is being taken from the main computer, downloaded in different computers which are used for controlling the different machines. So that also we have discussed in the mechatronics subject. So now let us have an understanding. So we know one important thing here is the NC has been replaced by CNC, and MCU is considered as the brain and heart of the CNC machines. So now, in what way the industries have got benefits? So we know one important point to be noticed here is the main objective of any industry is to see that their products are being produced with the highest accuracy, with the highest customer satisfaction, and so that the industries can be made to run very smoothly. So in order to achieve that, there is a replacement of the manual labor into an automatic machines. Okay, so now such things are possible because of the features of the CNC which you are going to see on the screen there. The first one is multiple storing of programs. So means in a CNC machine it is possible to store more than one program. So this was, if you compare now the same statement here, I am telling now multiple storing of programs. It was not possible for us to have a multiple storing of programs in case of an NC machine, because basically we are going to use a punched tape or a punched card which is having only one program. But this facility is available in case of CNC machines, where it is possible to store more than 150, 200, 500, 1000 different programs required for different production of jobs in industries in case of a CNC machine, and that is decided by the capacity of the storage of the CNC machines itself. The second feature is program editing at the machine tool. This is very important. So whenever an operator is going to give the input of the instructions, programming instructions to be carried out for a particular job, okay, so it is possible to modify there itself on the screen. So how we are going to modify? Suppose if at all I ask you to prepare one Word document, so what you are going to do, you are going to open one Word file, then you start typing. So while typing, if any mistakes are there, you are going to rectify it. Again you are going to retype. The same facility is also available on CNC machines. So such a facility is there, okay, where the program can be edited at the machine tool itself. There is no need that you have to write somewhere and again put, not like that. That means it is having a control panel, also known as operating panel, which we are going to discuss in detail in the subsequent slides. So let us understand about what are the features that have made to see that the CNC machines are going to be used in the present day industries. The third important feature is fixed cycles and programming subroutines. So what is the meaning of this? I will tell you. See, this is a wonderful facility where there are certain programming instructions where if any CNC is engaged to produce a very similar type of jobs, it is possible to use such special programs. They are called as fixed cycles, because your part program, the job to be produced is a fixed one. So high memory capacities to store frequently used machining cycles. Machining cycles means what? To start from the first step of operation to the last step. This is called as a machining cycle. If it is fixed, then you can go for such a production using the fixed cycle and programming subroutines facility. Interpolation. So here again there is a very big advancement. Permits to carry out linear, circular, parabolic and cubic interpolations. I already told interpolation is nothing but the movement of the cutting tool to be done in such a way that there are some fixed points between the two destinations. The first starting point is taken, end point is taken. Okay, so how it is made to move from one point to another, whether is it made to move in a straight line or in a curve. So such a controlling action is known as an interpolation. Okay, so now in case of a CNC machines, all these, the machine control unit is having the facility to carry out all these interpolations. That means the cutting tool is made to move in a straight line also, it can be made to move in a circular also, or it may be made to move in a parabolic also, but depending upon the programming instructions stored and what type of job it's being produced by the CNC, that decides. Positioning features for setting up of the machine tool is taken care by the software options in CNC system. See, in a CNC system is having a software which will provide us the details of the setting. That means, suppose if at all we want to carry out a particular job, even it is possible to get the complete information in connection with how many tools are required, okay, and how the setting is to be done. Everything is indicated. So such a feature is available even on CNC machines. Cutter length and size compensation. So this is also very, very important. See what happens whenever different operations are being carried out on a CNC machines, different tools are having different diameters and different tool lengths. So those are compensated automatically by a built-in into that, or by using a certain technique that is called as a probe technique, which also we are going to discuss in the subsequent chapters. So the next feature that is coming is acceleration and deacceleration calculations. Built-in facility for automatic change of feed rates as per the tool dynamics. So this is very, very important, because every operation is not requiring the same speed and feed. For example, if you want to turning, the speed required is more. For thread cutting, the speed required is less. So such a facility about the speed and feed rates are available within the CNC machines. Communication interface. It is a facility provided in CNC. So one more important thing is communication interface. Communication interface means the operator is working on a CNC machine. How he is going to communicate with the CNC machine, what facility he is having, that is called as a communication interface. For example, if at all I want to create one file in a computer, what facility I am having? I am having a keyboard. To see that, I am going to put certain information. The same thing, whatever is there, that means the keyboard is having so many pins are there, wherein we are going to use all those pins for the purpose of carrying out the file building. Similarly, even on a operator control panel, various dials, buttons, soft switches, soft buttons are also available for the operator to communicate with the CNC machine. Download a part program from a central data file. So whatever this one program that is stored in a data file can be downloaded. Collecting the operational data like workpiece count, cycle time, etc. Even all this information is available. And interfacing with a peripheral equipment like a robo. Even it is possible to see that the loading of the certain jobs can also be done by robots, as you are going to see the advancement in the present automation technology. Diagnostics. So this is one of the most important features of a CNC machines, a capacity to monitor, detect malfunctions and system breakdown. See what happens, the programmer, though he has written his job programs, there are some mistakes, okay, so those mistakes can also be detected by the CNC machine itself, and if any breakdown is there, there is an indication on a monitor, okay, So that is why it is possible to see that the operator can rectify there and then itself. Okay, that is very, very important. So such a facility is known as a diagnostics. Okay, that is very, very important. So now we have discussed about the various features of a CNC machines. Okay, so now the most important aspect which we are going to discuss, that is called as an MCU, machine control unit for CNC. So now as you are going to see clearly on the screen here, okay, the machine control unit is the heart of a CNC system. It is used to perform the following functions. So we are first describing what all the function machine control unit is going to do. First one is to read the coded instructions. This is very, very important. To read the coded instructions means what? To read the program stored by the operator. Okay, that is called as a reading. Next one, what it will do, it will decode the coded instructions. So that means every this one instructions, we know always it converts it into zeros and one. That care is taken by the CNC machine itself. To implement interpolations, that is linear, circular, angular, helical, to generate axis motion commands. So as per the programming instructions stored, it takes care of the movements of the cutting tools, cutters, or even the machine table or the work table as per the axis, that is X, Y and Z axis, which also we have discussed while discussing about the NC coordinate systems. The same coordinate system is also applicable for the CNC machines. Again, we are going to discuss in the next chapter in connection with that. To feed the axis motion commands to the amplifying circuits for driving the axis mechanisms. So whatever the mechanisms means, what all the mechanisms they are connected with the different axes are being also controlled there, or also being fed to the required distances, okay, at the required time, to receive the feedback signals of position, speed for each drive axis. Even it is having a closed loop control system, so it has to take back the information in the form of a feedback. If any error is there, it has to rectify. That care is taken by the MCU. To implement auxiliary control functions such as a coolant or spindle on, off and tool change. That all these things means whatever the controlling actions related to the CNC operation is completely taken care by the machine control unit. That is very, very important. So in that, even there are certain auxiliary functions. They are called as auxiliary, means what? Just they are going to help to carry out the functions. For example, coolant means what? It is going to see that when the coolant is used in the machining, in the cutting zone, okay, in a CNC machine, automatically the heat is taken away from that zone. So that is such a function. We are going to call it as a auxiliary function, because the coolant itself is not doing any work or as an operation. It is only going to help to see that the machining operation is done at ease or smoothly. Even your spindle on, off and a tool change. So these are the auxiliary functions which are being carried out by the machine control unit. And now let us go in detail about the machine control unit. We know one important thing, that whatever the instruction that is stored, it has to be decoded, and every action has to be taken in connection with the workpiece movements, in connection with the tool movements, about its feed, about its speed, and even along with that auxiliary functions like coolant on, off, and your spindle is rotating or it is stagnant, or even we can say the tool is changed or not. So all these functions we have discussed in general, but all these functions are carried out by different parts of an MCU. We have discussed in general, that is the what machine control unit is going to carry out. But on the screen you are going to see now configuration of CNC machine control unit. So as a CNC machine control unit, what are the basic parts of it? That is what we are going to discuss in detail now. The first part which you are going to see is the memory. Second one is central processing unit. Third one is input output interface. Fourth one is machine tool controls, and the last one is the sequence controls. So you are also going to see one straight line that is called as the system bus. So nothing but what, again we are coming back to our mechatronics subject while discussing about the bus system. We know that bus is going to act like a conductor for the flow of the data from one device to the another device, electronic device. Okay, so now the same you are going to see on the screen, where there is a two-way communication from each of the components, starting from the memory to the sequence controls. So for that purpose, we are going to have in detail about these things, how each and every unit is going to carry out its function. Okay, so as you are going to see on the screen here, so let us have a description about the central processing unit. So what is a central processing unit? It is the brain of the MCU, which manages the components of the MCU based on the software in the main memory. Okay, so whatever the software is there, okay, based on that type of software, it takes care of taking the decisions. How a human brain is going to take the decisions finally, so that function is carried out by the central, that is carried out by the MCU. That is, in that the main part is central processing unit. So in that central processing unit, there are three important sections. So one section we call it as a control section, and the second section is called as the arithmetic and logic unit, and the third one is called as immediate access memory. So in the control section, what it will do, retrieves the commands and data from the memory and generating signals to activate other components. So as you are going to see exactly to the left side, you are going to see the memory. In that ROM and RAM also you are going to see. So what a central processing unit will do, it retrieves the commands and data from the memory. It takes from the memory whatever the data that is required, and it generates the signals to activate other components in the MCU. So whatever the data it is going to take from the memory, it has to process it and it has to use certain signals. So that is why it is called as the control section. It is considered to be the very main important part of a CPU. And how it will do? By using the second part, that is arithmetic and logic unit. It consists of the circuitry to perform various mathematical and logical operations. So these things you already learned in your while studying about the basic architecture of a computer. So we know very well that this arithmetic and logic unit is again consists of electronic circuit where there are various mathematical and logical operations. Mathematical operations include, you know very well about addition, subtraction, all that. Okay, and logical operations also you have learned, like OR, AND, NAND, etc. So all these operations are being carried out by the unit, and it is going to see that the controlling action is going to be carried out very smoothly by the CPU as a whole. The next part coming is immediate access memory. See what happens, though the central processing unit is going to take the complete care of taking the data, processing and sending the information, control signals, it is necessary to store whatever it has done. So that facility is also provided within the CPU. That is for temporary storage for the data being processed by the CPU. See, every time it is not going to process the same data. The data will go on changing, okay, because our operations are also going to change. So according to that, it has to store the temporarily the data, what operation it is going to do according to that, and connect it to the main memory through the data bus. It is in connection with the data bus, and it is possible to hold that memory in the form of temporary storage, which is very, very important. The next part which you are going to see on the screen is memory. We know one important thing. We have started with the CPU because it is considered as the main part of the MCU. So now in the case of a memory, there are two parts which you are going to see very clearly on the screen there, ROM ROM, read only memory, and the second part is called as a RAM, random access memory. And each and every part of the memory device is having its own facility to store the program. So what is that? We shall have a discussion. It is the CNC main memory. So whatever the memory you are going to see, it is called as the CNC main memory, no doubt, to store the operating system software and also to store the various programs and the data required to operate the CNC system. This is very, very important. So always in this memory there are system software. That means the CNC system has to run. For that, it is a manufacturer's software which is kept. That is one software, and another software is there that is to operate the CNC system by using those programs which you are going to store. So it consists of two important parts. One is called as the main or primary memory and also secondary memory. So in the main or primary memory, it consists of two parts which you are going to see there clearly, that is ROM and RAM. So programs related to operating software systems are stored in ROM. So we know very well, whatever the software system program which is stored in the ROM cannot be changed. Try to understand, it is a manufacturer's system software program which is already previously stored, okay, and all the necessary programs to execute the production of jobs, whatever the programs which we are going to store for the production of jobs are stored in RAM. Try to understand two important things here. In ROM, the system software is there, operating system software is stored, and in RAM, the programming instructions to carry out the job, that information is stored in the RAM, random access memory. And apart from that, one more is there, that is called as the secondary memory. They are auxiliary storage of programs to store the large programs and data files. See, this is what main or primary memory means. In ROM, we cannot change. Already it is a software system program, it is already there. In RAM, what we are going to do, we take the help of a RAM to see that the whatever the present program is there, that is made to run. But apart from that, we require to store the remaining programs also. So that is also another memory is there, that is called as a secondary memory, which we have not shown on the screen. Okay, remember. So they are auxiliary storage of the programs to store the large programs and data files. Whatever the data files required to carry out the processing of the CNC machines are also stored in a secondary memory. Though the next one coming up is, again, as you are going to see on the screen, input and output interface. So first we need to understand what is the meaning of an interface. Interface is nothing but a interconnection, or even you can say the bus system is also called as an interface. So that means whenever, suppose if at all I want to put any information in a computer, I have required to interface my keyboard to the CPU. I am going to connect it. Such a methodology is called as an interfacing, through which I can communicate with the help of a keyboard. Similarly, here also we require to communicate with the CNC machine, and such a facility we call it as input interface, and output means what? We require to see that some action is taken by the CNC machine. So that is called as an output. It provides the means of data communication between the input and output devices. Whatever the input we are going to give, okay, it has to see that it is going to decode, okay, and whatever the operation is there, it is going to give out in the form of an output. In case of a CNC machine, the control panel provides the facility for the operator to store, edit, mode of control, speed, feed, cutting fluid, on, off, etc. You try to understand now. Very important thing is, just whatever the keyboard that is used, it is definitely a specialized type of keyboard. It is also called as an operator control panel, which is provided exactly in front of the operator, which I have already shown in the previous slide, okay, while discussing about the machine control unit in general. So now we require to understand that these facilities are possible for the operator to carry out. So how he is going to carry out? By using the input interface. So he can store the programs, he can edit the programs, he can control, he can use the different speeds, feed, cutting, feed on, etc. But all these things are already stored in the programming instructions. Try to understand. So whatever the minor changes is there, that he can do, because once the running of the CNC machine is done, there is no possibility of changing the speed and feed. It is already instructed how much we have to use in a particular program of instructions for the production of a job. It also consists of a keyboard. This is also very, very important. It is also consisting of a keyboard, and it also consists of a CTR screen. The CTR screen has become almost outdated now. So you are going to have a LED display, and now you are going to have almost displays which are available with the soft touch buttons. Even in our CNC Bhartesh Skill Development Center is also having the CNC Turning Center and VMC. Okay, in all these CNC machines you are going to have a soft touch buttons on a control panel, and various dials and switches are there to see that the controlling of the operation is done at ease with the help with the operator. Okay, so you are going to have a LED display, that is a monitor through which the operator can store the programs manually or store at a central computer to retrieve the same through LAN. See, there are various methods are there. So the general method is to store the programs, and to retrieve means to take it by using the name of that program. Each program is numbered. By just clicking on that, that particular program will open and the CNC machine will start working for the production. Even in some cases we can have one central computer where there is a storage of the program which is interfaced with our CNC machine, and it can be downloaded and through LAN, and we can also start the production. This is also there. Okay, the next part that is coming up is nothing but that is the last one. Last two are their concept, that is machine tool controls and sequence controls. See, we know one important thing here. Machine tool controls include, these are called as hardware components. So what purpose they are used for controlling the position and the feed rate of each axis. Now we require to have certain controlling where it is required to have to control the position and feed rate of each axis, because each axis are being rotated at the different speeds at different times, and also they are made to move at a different linear displacements, used for controlling the CNC machine tool spindle. So these are the two functions that are being carried out by the machine controls. And sequence controls. In sequence controls, we know very well this sequence control word has come because if at all any CNC machine to run smoothly, it is necessary to see that the auxiliary functions, as I have already discussed, how to be carried out very smoothly. It is necessary to have other controlling functions like on-off of the coolant, actuations, interlocks, and discrete numerical data. Whatever the specific numerical data that is stored, that has to be taken care by the sequence controls, okay, as a part of a hardware. Okay, so now the most important part of the next is CNC software. So before we go for that, just whatever I have read, it is already which you are going to see, that is central processing unit. You can just note down. Already I have put the today's notes in your app, Anthropic app. Also I have sent the same, the today's notes, in the WhatsApp. Also you can just download it in your mobile, start writing all the notes. And whatever the previous notes are there, they are in the form of photo images in the app. That also you can note down and start writing the answers for various questions. And also we are going to see, we have also discussed about the memory and input output interface and how it functions. Just observe the operating control panel. What is the operating control panel? So this is a very modernized operating control panel which you are going to see. You are going to see so many soft buttons there. You are going to see the dials. You are going to see the red and green buttons, okay, which is used for on and off. And also you are going to see the monitor. You are also going to see the screen, and also you are going to see the switches which are there on a control panel. So it looks like, what you can say, it is having a keyboard as well as a monitor on the top, as you are going to see clearly on the screen, where the operator is going to take the help of such a operating control panel to carry out his function. Now we have also discussed about the machine tool controls and sequence controls, and the last concept that we are going to discuss is about the CNC software. So we know very well that in read-only memory it is necessary to have the system software, but apart from that, whatever the softwares they are used, we require to understand them very clearly. What is the definition of CNC programming software? CNC programming software create program codes and instructions used to run a machine tool controlled by a computer. Each unique part requires its own CNC program. We know very well we require to create the program codes. That is very well, that creation is possible by the CNC programming software. CNC software can be used to control a range of machinery including grinders, means CNC grinding machine, CNC lathes, mills and routers, and in so doing eliminates the limitations of the traditional manual machining. In terms of accuracy, we know very well that the manual machining is completely replaced, production rate and speed can be increased. Indeed, CNC software facilitates the production of complex parts because just I have discussed, so whatever the interpolation means controlling of the cutting tool is achievable in a circular direction, in a curvilinear direction, in a parabolic direction. All these facilities available on a CNC machine. In metal and plastic, which would be not possible, impossible to create by manual means. That is what we are going to discuss here. Now, how does CNC software work? So actually what happens here is there are two important sections in an industry. That is, one is called as a design, where by using computers we are going to design, and that is sent to the process planning. Then once that process planning is approved, then the production starts. But there are certain softwares where there is a combination of the CAD and CAM. That means the design of your job is created only by using that is by using a very important software known as a computer aided manufacturing software. By using CAM, it is possible to run a CNC machine very smoothly. Computerized aided design software creates a 2D drawing or 3D solid model of the part to be created, which is imported into computer aided manufacturing software. So what we do, this 2D or 3D drawing is given as an input to the computer aided manufacturing software. So what it will do, it generates the tool paths, or in other words, a series of Cartesian coordinates through which the tip of the cutting tool will travel, and converts these into a series of simple programming language instructions. So it can give you how the programming instructions has to be written. The standard programming language is a G code. The programming language which we are going to use on a CNC machine is known as a G code. G code is also called as a preparatory code, which again we are discussing in length in the subsequent presentations in the next chapter. G code or ISO code, and it is this code that enables fine control of the manufacturing equipment. So whatever the controlling action is there, it is carried out by the G codes only in a CNC machine. CNC software interprets the G code, it reads it and activates a series of numbered sequential instructions for machining the desired part. So whatever the job that is to be produced, so it is taken care by these G codes, okay, sequential instructions, one after the other. The machining operations have to be carried out for the production of a job in a sequence. So where that facility is possible, if at all the programming instructions is correct, so that care is taken by the CNC software only, which is already provided within the machine itself, in a computer itself. Okay, so examples of this is Fusion 360. These are some of the softwares available: Gibbs CAM, NX CAM, Master CAM, etc. These are some of the softwares available where we can import 2D or 3D drawing created in your CAD, in your ProE, etc., or in a CASA. Then that is fed to the CAM software, and all these operations can be done very easily or smoothly on a CNC machine. But before we end up with the today's session, we need to understand, we have discussed what is the main function of a software. So now we need to understand here what are the actual types of softwares being used, because this is the main content in connection with the software. In examinations, they are going to ask you what types of, list the types of softwares used in CNC machines, list and explain, 3 to 5 marks. Operating system software, it is installed by the manufacturer. Just I have told about this at the very beginning, that it is a operating system software which is already stored by the manufacturer. It is stored in the ROM in the MCU, used to interpret the NC part programs, generate the control signals to drive the axis. Its function is to interpret. So whatever the programming instructions is there, it has to read, it has to sense it, it has to generate the control signals. That facility is given by using this software. Machine interface software, used to communicate between the CPU and the machine tool. See, now we require to communicate between the CPU and the machine tool. How this is communicated? By using one more software that is called as machine interface software. So what this software will do? Used to execute the CNC auxiliary functions. So machine interface software will take care of input output signals, coolant control, tool changer, tool is changed or not, tool storage unit control, control of fixture clamping devices, loading and unloading, etc. All this care is taken by the machine interface software. And the last one is called as an application software. It is provided with the NC part programs for machining applications. So this software is provided with the different programs that has to be made to run for the different machining applications. So these are the 3 important types of softwares generally used in case of a CNC machine. So you need to understand all these things. So before I conclude the today's session, you already I have told the answers for all these questions are available even in the app, and also I have sent in the WhatsApp. In the today's WhatsApp, please open and see, download the notes and write in a separate notebook. That is, define CNC and recall its needs in manufacturing, list the features of CNC, list the 3 types of CNC software, and the last one is explain the configuration of CNC machine control unit. So these are the 4 important questions which you need to prepare for the coming examinations. You need to define CNC, recall its needs, list the features, list the 3 types of CNC software, and explain the configuration of CNC machine control unit, which we have already discussed in length. And apart from that, you also please go through the video which is attached with this. This is very, very important. Okay.